Hey everybody, welcome to English 2022's week 7. This is the week where you submit your final critical analysis essay. So you've been working on it. You should have gotten feedback in week 5 for your drafts. We've been discussing revision and, module 6, and now we're moving on to module 7. The final draft is due this week, and then the final week you'll do some reflection on your writing and your processes. So we get to take our time to sort of sum up the class. And you've got this week and only 2 exercises in Mind Edge. So let's take a peek. Exercise 7.1, reading revision strategies. Okay, so revision strategies, there are plenty of them to consider and choose from. The most important one is giving yourself some distance from the paper. So this, if you try to write everything in a 5 or 6 hour block on one day, you're not going to be able to catch the nuances of your writing. And you're not going to be able to find like gaps in logic, missing content, because you're so close to it. So writing, a couple of hours one day, then taking a break, and then the next day coming back and revisiting it works out really well. There are some great suggestions here. I've got some more. Working with a partner, working with the Writing Center tutors, working with a trusted friend or family member or a classmate or your professor during office hours. Having your paper read out loud to you allows you to get a sense of how does the audience engage with the flow of the content. Like you watch the body language of your partner who's reading your work to you to see if does their brow furrow, do they look confused, is there a way you could rephrase a section if they stumble over the phrasing? Do you need some sort of punctuation, right? Large-scale revisions include, do you have a working thesis statement? Because remember that thesis statement is your map to the assignment. And do you, based on the reasons you listed in your thesis statement, do you have paragraphs that cover each of those reasons? Some you may need 2 or 3 paragraphs for one reason. It just, let the paper grow organically. Are you accurate with your paraphrasing? Because that can change meaning, those types of things. Have you talked about the author's main point? Have you considered other alternative points? Those are large scale. When you change meaning, it's large scale. When you move to small scale, this is like, is the format accurate? Did you run the grammar and the spell checker? Note that in Word, the grammar and the spell checker is probably 40 to 50% accurate. It's not, artificial intelligence. There's not a live person back there giving you advice. That's why it's important to work with the tutoring center and or your professor if you find you still struggle with, run-on sentences or comma splices or something like that. Then there's a video on self-evaluation and peer evaluation. Definitely watch that. You've got this nice checklist before you move into and the video commentary on revision strategies. Watch those because they'll put some of these ideas into context. Okay, now the final essay, this is an expanded version of the draft that you submitted in module 5. You'll note that your goal is to identify main ideas, supporting evidence and conclusions through textual analysis. You will not in this essay be talking about yourself or your own experiences. It's just, what was the writer's argument? And did they do a good job of that or not, right? Were they able to back up their claims? Did they write it well? Was it clear? And however you view the article, that's fine. You're not going to be graded differently if you didn't like it and you seem to believe that the professor did like it, right? But remember that you have to be able to back up your claims, and you're writing this in an objective third-person point of view. So avoid uses of I and me and we and our and you. Don't use second-person point of view either. Don't tell the reader their experience. When readers feel, well, not everybody engages with the text in the same way. Okay, so you need an introduction paragraph where readers get a little bit of background on the author and what the general topic is. That's that overview. Add to this like a hook detail, an interesting quote or statistic or data point from the paragraph that would shock readers who haven't seen it before. And then before your introduction paragraph is over, hit that thesis. That's that argument with reasons that we worked on in module 4. Go back and look at my feedback on that. And as a matter of fact, in module 4, if you wrote a really good summary and you got a high grade on that, that summary is the overview of the work. So imagine your introduction is a combination of that summary paragraph and your thesis, refined, of course, and maybe add a little interesting hook detail. The body is the majority of the essay. If this is a 3 to 4 page assignment, 3 to 4 pages, full pages, right? So not like 2 pages in one sentence. Your body is going to be, 2 to 3 pages of writing. So you're going to have more than like 1 paragraph per point. I tell students to plan on 2 paragraphs per each point. There should be plenty of details within these articles to support that. Before you leave your essay, and as a matter of fact, you could add a body paragraph after all of this that's still part of the body that provides what we call counter evidence or counterpoints. Could there be a different interpretation of this article? And then you can explain why that interpretation would be wrong. That's a nice way to sort of bolster real confidence in your interpretation of the quality of the text is the best one. Conclusion. This is sort of like a cousin to the introduction. You restate your thesis in a fresh way and you summarize the main points, but not with the exact same wording. It's like explaining a concept to somebody who didn't quite get it the first time around and you want it to sink in. So you use a different set of analogies, you use a different set of examples, you use different synonyms sometimes, right? And then draw some conclusions. If the author was wrong, what could the author have done differently to have made it right? What other readings do you recommend for readers to get the true sort of, or processes? However you want to conclude this, think of drawing conclusions as providing insight or food for thought. And finally, I'm going to end this video by saying students tend to get at least a letter grade higher when they use the project, this assignment rubric, as a checklist on a printed out copy of the draft before they submit the draft for final. You'll notice we now have 4 columns of evaluation: exemplary, proficient, needs improvement, and not evident, right? You'll notice that there's no real exemplary overview. I don't know why it's not that way, but it is. But does the student overview the text, right? So proficient category is, with the exception of the first one, is to about 85%. Exemplary is, you get all the points. Needs improvement. This would be like a thesis that didn't have a plan of development. You had half of it, but not the whole thing. Or maybe if you got a needs improvement on thesis, maybe your thesis is a fact and it's not yet an argument. You're attempting it, and I see that thesis in the introduction, right? Not only in the conclusion, but it wasn't complete yet. So again, go back to those prior modules and look at the feedback that you got. The body. Do you stay focused on the main idea, and do you provide data from the article itself, right? Exceptionally clear, insightful, sophisticated, creative, does it well, is getting there. And you can kind of see how these columns are set up. Conclusion, did you re-summarize the main points? Did you sort of talk about where do we go from here? Sort of the insight. Articulation of responses, the grammar and the syntax, and you'll notice one additional column that's brand new, citations and attributions. So for example, every time you name a source, say your source's name is Smith, and the article about Smith was about procrastination. Every time you borrow details from Smith's text, you say Smith said that, or Smith argues, or you use a quote, and at the end say Smith. You have to name Smith in every paragraph. And you need to do it based on MLA or APA style. You've got those style manuals. I think they were pushed in module 5, but definitely go back, and they are downloadable. So save them to your desktop and use them. And if you have any questions this week on, does my text look like MLA? That's a perfect opportunity for you to reach out, email me, and set up time for a phone conference. So listen, after you do this, and if you feel like you got most of the categories into the proficient or exemplary column, you're ready for submission. All right. The assignment's worth a lot of points in your overall grade, so make sure you submit it on time. You don't want to lose that 10% for the late assignment submission. So, Sunday is the due day. Listen, I wish everybody luck, and I know you'll reach out if you have questions. Just let me know. I hope to hear from you soon.